begin, I want to remind everyone here today that North Carolina law and UNC system policy prohibit the willful interruption, disturbance, or disruption of an official public meeting. Further, North Carolina law provides that it is a Class 2 misdemeanor for any person to refuse to leave an official meeting upon being directed to do so. Pursuant to these authorities, anyone who interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts this meeting will be asked to leave. If they do not leave when asked, they will be removed and may be subject to arrest. I now would like to ask Representative Diamond Staten Williams to please come up and swear in our student body president, Jalea Taylor, to the Board of Trustees. Thank you for being here.
Affirm or swear. Okay. I, Jalea Ayana Taylor, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a member of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I do. Further, do you solemnly and sincerely swear or affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God? I do. Congratulations.
The student body president joined us for dinner last night, and I will just say she's off to a very strong start in her capacity on this board. I'll now ask Secretary White to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Mr. Valentine? Mr. Blaine? Mr. Bullock?
Here.
Mr. Bronner? Mr. Bryan? Mrs. Evans? Dr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Kalapa? Mr. Codis? Mr. Meekins?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Pryor?
Here.
Ms. Taylor is here. Mr. Turner?
Here.
And I am present. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Secretary White. As chair of the board, I must remind all members of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict of interest. If you know of any conflict or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today, please identify it at this time. Hearing none, I'm now going to move to approval of the consent agenda. Members of the board, we have a number of items on the consent agenda for approval at this meeting. I will read the list now, which include, and it is lengthy, so bear with me. Approval of open and closed session minutes of the March 27, 28, 2024 meeting. Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management Committee, approval of open and closed session minutes of Audit, Risk Management, and Compliance, January 17th, 2024 committee meeting, attachment B. Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management Committee Charter and Office of Internal Audit Charter. Office of Internal Audit Risk Assessment and Fiscal Year 2025 Internal Audit Work Plan. From the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee, Ordinance regulating transportation and parking effective August 1st, 2024. Advanced Planning Spending Authority for the Gene Therapy Center renovation, the steam tunnel replacement on Columbia Street, designer selection for the Frank Porter Graham Student Union North Roof replacement, Phillips Hall 1960 building window replacement, the Brower Hall fire alarm system replacement, and the Gimgul Castle easement amendment. Also from the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee, approval of revised faculty salary ranges, School of Information and Library Science. And having read these materials listed under the consent agenda, is there any item that needs to be moved to the discussion portion of either the open or closed session agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve all of these items. Thank you, Trustee Patel. Thank you for the second, Trustee Meekins. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And that is everything we had on the consent agenda. Now, for some brief remarks, I just want to welcome everybody to this meeting, coming to you today from the lovely Spangler Building Annex. And I want to welcome you to the #1 public university in the world. As you all know, this past Saturday was graduation. The first one held at night, and by all accounts, it was a spectacular success. Dr. Jones spoke about this at length yesterday, and that it was one of the best he has ever attended. And on a personal note, it was the first graduation I have ever attended, as I missed my own. For those who weren't there and missed my remarks, I'll just say that after 5 years of undergraduate education, it was time for me to go straight to work. And in one program note, I was one of the speakers that was allotted 2 minutes given. And I see Board of Governors member and fellow Tar Heel John Fraley here today with us. And we just had a discussion before. Where are you, John? We just had a conversation. Thank you, right here. And John told me that he had done the same thing when he graduated. He went straight to work, went to New York, and never attended his graduation until the 50th anniversary of his graduation last year. And I asked John to please tell our mutual friend, Governor Holly, who also spoke, that he may be in need of a new watch. There are many reasons why graduation was such a spectacular success, but let me give you just a few. Our event staff was great the whole week, including a beautiful dinner that several of us attended Friday night in Wilson Library. And all the preparations for that first night graduation, including fireworks. And they were really good fireworks too. That was an added surprise for everybody that was there in the stadium that night. So big thanks to Stacy, Megan, Julie, and all of our friends at the garden level. Our groundskeeping crews and the facilities team were just absolutely phenomenal. I was on campus pretty much every day, 2 weeks prior to graduation, saw what they had to do under difficult circumstances, and watched them planting, watering, cutting, manicuring. The campus really never looked prettier anytime I can recall in a long, long time. The bell tower was gorgeous. Removing those boxwoods 5 years ago, which was kind of a traumatic thing for those that remember that one, great idea. So congratulations to the groundskeeping facilities crew for all that hard work. But it is no exaggeration to say that none of it would have even been possible were it not for the tireless work and dedication of the university police. Thank you, Chief James. Thanks especially to all of our friends we see on a routine basis, Jonathan, Shane, Bobby, and Jeff. Thank you for all the time you spend around us to make everything safe, secure. They had a very rough 2 weeks prior to graduation with no rest and limited help. They kept the peace, they did it professionally, and secured the graduation venue with lots of access points, and kept a capacity crowd safe and secure for a really joyous event. Now, let me address something from the meeting we had on Monday to approve the all funds budget. I want to clarify comments made during that meeting that may have suggested that we had planned a separate budget presentation for athletics in an upcoming closed session. We do not schedule budget presentations and discussions for closed session, and we did not do that this week. Closed session is reserved for the purposes enumerated in state law, including but not limited to discussion of attorney-client privileged information, personnel matters, campus security, and other confidential information legally protected from disclosure. Protected discussions of these topics may necessarily intersect with a high-profile unit like the athletics department. But we have not, and we will not hold a separate presentation of the all funds athletic budget or any other part of our all funds budget in closed session today or any other day. We post our agendas on our website and they list our planned closed session agenda items. The agenda for today's meeting does not include a budget presentation or discussion in closed session and never has. A lot of us are very passionate about our athletics program. Concerns about the future have been expressed. We are in an uncertain time regarding the future of college athletics. That future is fraught with substantial and intersecting legal risks. We did not speak with the precision or clarity that we should have on Monday, but no statement made or action taken during that meeting changed the board's plan for today's closed session, our commitment to respect the legal grounds for closed session, or the accuracy of our published agenda. I appreciate the opportunity to correct and clarify our intent. Now, let me call on Student Body President Taylor for her president's remarks.
Thank you, Chair Pryor, and good afternoon to the board, Interim Chancellor Roberts, Vice Chancellors, Senior Administrators, and press. My name is Jalea Taylor, and it is my honor to serve as the Student Body President and as a member of the Board of Trustees at the esteemed University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I am a rising senior from Charlotte, North Carolina, studying political science and media and journalism with a keen eye on law school. Before talking about me, I want to firstly thank those who have supported me in my endeavors throughout Carolina. I would like to first give all the glory to God, who has blessed me with his love, mercy, and grace. I would like to thank my parents and family for continuing to not only support me, but encourage me to go further in public service. I would like to thank my amazing campaign of roughly 75 students who saw my vision for the university and helped spread the word on campus. I would like to thank the trustees and administrators who have helped me in my transition into this role, including University Secretary Christopher McClure, who has been especially helpful. Finally, I would like to thank Representative Diamond Staten Williams for continuing to inspire me as a leader and encouraging me to go the extra mile, and for also swearing me into office today. Representative Williams represents my hometown district and has always empowered young Black women to go into politics and public service. When I first decided to run for Student Body President, I thought deeply about the reasons why I love this university and why I sought this position. I thought about how many students come here for their love of Carolina Blue. I thought about our world-renowned programs in business, STEM, and journalism. But at the same time, I thought about the times that our campus community has come together during challenging times and not only supported each other, but advocated for better times and a better experience for future generations of Tar Heels. It was because all of these traits that made my campaign slogan, "Our home, our future, our Carolina." This slogan is a testament to what I believe this university represents to students. Most students come into Carolina and make this place home, and over their time here, they'll realize that there are things that can be improved at our university. This vision that myself and my campaign team set for the student body is meant to uplift the student voice and empower them. Ultimately, I'm striving to make a student body who understands that their voice is powerful and that they truly have the opportunity to make Carolina better. In my time as student body president and as a trustee, I plan to advocate for a meal swipe donation plan that addresses food insecurity on our campus, introduce voter engagement initiatives for the upcoming election cycle in the fall, defend diversity, and most importantly, make sure that all students feel welcome, supported, and safe here at Carolina. Additionally, I plan to work alongside the graduate and professional student government by helping ensure graduate students are fairly represented and compensated for the work that they provide to our community. In my past day or so on the board, I have appreciated how the board has not shied away from having hard conversations and discussing contentious topics. I've been able to see the members deliberate and articulate their points. With that being said, I recognize that there will be moments of tension on the board, and there will be tough conversations and sensitive topics that will present challenges for all of us on this board. But if anything, these times of tension can inspire growth in all of us and remind us of the value of compromise and camaraderie. This next year of my time on this board, we may not see eye to eye on some issues, But I know that I'm ready, willing, and excited to work with all of you to make the best choices for our university, a university that we all love and hold dear to our hearts. To the board, I'm hopeful about the amount of work and policy that we'll be able to accomplish in the next year, and I look forward to deepening my relationships with you all and finding common ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those great remarks. And it's just like we were discussing at dinner last night. You're absolutely right. We won't always agree on everything, but we can do it in a agreeable way. And I was seated next to my old friend and the senior member of this board, Trustee Meekins, last night. And we had that very conversation, didn't we? Thank you. I'm now going to call on the Graduate and Professional Student Government Bodies President. Javier Daniels, please come up for your remarks. Well, that will allow us to proceed with our agenda and stay on time, and we'll have that another day. I'll now recognize the Interim Chancellor Roberts for his remarks.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Good morning. Thank you to everyone for being here. Welcome especially to Representative Staten Williams and Representative John Fraley from the Board of Governors. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to President Taylor. Appreciated your remarks. Look forward to working with you. Let's talk before you irrevocably commit to law school. I have some hot off the press news. As you know, yesterday was the deadline for students to commit to Carolina, accepted students to commit. So our current overall yield number is 47%. That compares to 44% last year. Our in-state yield is 61.5% compared to just under 60% last year. We also have about 75 students who have been given extensions, 1-week extensions due to the FAFSA issues with which I think everyone is familiar. And that will obviously affect some of our metrics slightly, but gratified by the strong yield numbers. You all know about our very strong application numbers, 68,000 applications. That combined with our very strong yield, I think reflects the demand for Carolina education and our extremely strong and continually growing reputation both in the state and nationally. As Chair Pryor mentioned, last week was full of graduation festivities, and the best event that I attended, I think not just in the context of graduation weekend, but maybe all semester, was the Red, White, and Carolina Blue ROTC graduation on Friday morning. If you haven't attended that in the past, I really encourage you to put it on your calendar. You won't find a more inspiring event on our campus. Our speaker was a woman from Duplin County who had joined the Army at 17, came back to Carolina, and is now a lieutenant colonel in the JAG Corps advising the 82nd Airborne at Fort Liberty. So highly inspiring speaker. Trustee Bullock and I shook how many hundred hands at the hooding ceremony on Saturday morning? Yeah, you were wearing more comfortable shoes than I was. And I know that several of you attended our commencement ceremony as well. Obviously, my first as chancellor, the first that anyone can remember in a long time, that was held on Saturday evening. And during our first commencement under the stars, it felt especially appropriate to have Zena Cardman, NASA astronaut, speaking to us. If you want to feel inadequate, spend some time chatting with a 36-year-old astronaut who's been in training for 7 years and is about to go up on the space station for 6 months. I'm sure many of you know this, but as we close the spring semester, I get the honor of attending many events representing the accomplishments of our graduating students. That included the Carolina Covenant Scholars Dinner about a week before graduation. That program is truly incredible and should receive more, I think, attention than it does. It allows us to award a full financial aid package and offer a network of support to our lowest income students. That program now represents 10% of our undergraduate student body. 50% of the Carolina Covenant students are first-generation college students, and they're able to graduate from Carolina debt-free, which is a huge deal for any student, but particularly these students. While I was preparing for all of the excitement around commencement, I kept thinking back to these students, the ones who are the first in their families to graduate from college, and what a remarkable achievement that is to celebrate, not just for the students, but also for their loved ones sitting in the stands, keeping in mind all of the families and friends celebrating their graduates. It really brought into perspective the importance of holding the ceremony and doing everything that we could to keep it celebratory and safe. As you all know, several other institutions didn't hold their graduation ceremonies or had to adjust plans due to protests and anticipated disruptions. I feel very grateful that we didn't have that experience. We've had to make some very difficult decisions around topics that people across campus and beyond feel very passionately about on every side. We're always going to uphold free speech. It's a foundational principle of our university as the first public university in America. It's obviously a constitutional and legal obligation. And beyond upholding free speech, we're going to actively encourage student engagement and peaceful protest. That should be true for any institution of higher education. Everyone has a right to have their voice heard. We have a long-standing and proud commitment to protecting the rights of all community members to demonstrate and protest peacefully, and we will follow our policies. We'll follow the law. No one has the right to disrupt campus operations, threaten or harass others, shout down a speaker, or destroy public property. Now that commencement is over, information collected during recent events is being reviewed to pursue potential violations of policies and applicable laws, including recent treatment of employees at South Building as they were leaving work the other day, and the vandalism we saw at South Building on commencement day. I want to thank our facilities crews for quickly cleaning the area before the evening ceremony. We'll continue to take necessary actions that promote a safe teaching, learning, and working environment. We have unfortunately had to take action with protesters, including many who are not members of our Carolina community. I've been very appreciative, as Chair Pryor has, of our police department and our university leadership for the way they've handled these disruptions. Our police were able to clear the Polk Place encampment quickly. This occurred days after protesters refused to follow state and university policies regarding tents, after previously complying with and working with our student affairs team. Also in this case, our incredible facilities team quickly restored the area following a major cleanup operation. I want to specifically commend Chief Brian James for his leadership in this regard. His approach to minimizing force and focusing on de-escalation benefits the safety of all involved. I also want to thank university leaders, my colleagues, for remaining steadfast in our mission, in upholding our policies, and maintaining our commitments to free speech and peaceful demonstration. I also want to bring up a topic that brings a variety of views and concerns. It's, of course, DEI. At this point, we await the BOG decision regarding a potential system-wide change, as well as guidance for implementation. We also await clarity on how the budget addendum that this board submitted to the BOG factors into the system's expectations of us. As you all know, the BOG meets next week. Once we have clarity on the policy, we will move carefully and thoughtfully to implement decisions that focus on the success and that support all of our students at Carolina. I'm afraid we have more questions than answers at this point. I know people around campus and around the community are curious about the policy, interested in how it will be finalized and implemented, and we'll have to wait until next week and the implementing guidelines to see that. I'll reiterate that the university has a profound obligation to reflect the state. Everyone who lives here knows that the state is rapidly growing, it's rapidly changing, it's extremely vibrant. We have a profound duty to reflect the state. That's been our obligation since our first academic year 229 years ago, and we can't just reflect it on paper. We need to make sure that everyone who comes here feels welcome here and as though this is a place for them. We've just closed out a difficult academic year. Our students have gone through a lot, especially those who graduated. And I want to make sure that we take a moment to thank the faculty and staff who supported our students throughout this year. They've mentored and guided our students through the highs and lows. That care and support culminated with graduation this past week. And I couldn't be more grateful to have been part of the community of Tar Heels, celebrating our students and their successes. I know during our last meeting, I promised that I wouldn't show videos every time. But if you let me go back on my word just a little bit, I'd love to wrap up my remarks with a recap video of this past week's celebration of commencement, because I think it's always important for us to be reminded that we are constantly working towards providing these students with a safe and enjoyable celebration of one of the biggest achievements of their lives. So thank you to everyone who made this happen. The day of celebration and reflection. And this one, more than most. You bore the brunt of the pandemic lockdowns. And then you found ways to rekindle public life in Carolina.
So humbled to stand in front of this many Tar Heels, especially a class that has shown resilience, grit, and a deep sense of service and moral conviction to match your academic brilliance. Success is yours to define. Even if you aren't sure what you want to become, you already know who you are. You know your values, what brings you joy, what questions make you curious. You know the people who matter to you.
Class of 2024, no matter where your next steps take you, take them confidently and leave your heel print on this world. Congratulations and go Heels! Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Interim Chancellor Roberts, and thank you for that video. And as illustrated there, and I can't say it too many times, it really was a spectacular event. And those that missed it, maybe we have a new thing with an evening graduation. And I'm not getting into that now, but it was certainly a big hit with all the parents that I talked to. I'll now recognize Trustee Patel to give the report on the Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board of Trustee members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on Audit, Compliance, and Risk Management yesterday, May the 15th. The committee reviewed and approved the minutes of the January 17, 2024 meeting. The committee also reviewed and approved the Audit, Compliance, Risk Management Committee Charter, the Office of Internal Audit Charter. In addition, the committee reviewed and approved the 2025 Risk Assessment and Internal Audit Work Plan. These items were approved by the board early this morning as part of the consent agenda. Finally, the committee heard from Chief Audit Dean Weber regarding the university's risk assessment and top 5 enterprise risk management exercise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee Patel. I'll now recognize Trustee Bullock to give the report on the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor, Board of Trustees members. This report covers items discussed during the Budget Committee, the Committee for Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure. That was yesterday. Committee approved the university's transportation parking ordinance that will be effective August 15th, 2024. Committee also considered and approved requests for 2 advanced planning spending authorities, 3 designer selections, and 1 easement amendment. These items were approved by the board as part of the consent agenda moments ago. Detailed information about each request is available in the onboard portal. Thank you, Chairman Pryor. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Bullock. And I'm getting ready to call on Trustee Codis, but before I do, I want to recognize Trustee Codis, who was on the search committee that resulted for the new police chief, that resulted in the hiring of Chief James. And Trustee Codis has spent a lot of his time on all aspects of the public safety leading up to graduation and did an invaluable service in the process. So thank you. And with that, I'd ask you to give the report on the Strategic Initiatives Committee.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Watching that video and seeing 20,000 people show up and enjoy that day who didn't have a chance to enjoy their high school commencement reminded me that at University of Southern California, they didn't get to do that. And leadership matters and investments in security matter in order to allow things like that to happen. This report covers items discussed during the committee meeting of the Committee of Strategic Initiatives yesterday, May 15th. The committee reviewed and approved the minutes of March 27th, 2024 meeting. This item was approved by the board as part of its consent agenda this morning. The committee heard an informational report from Provost Clemens on a request for authorization to plan for the Institute for Risk Management and Insurance Innovation, a very interesting and powerful program. Finally, the committee heard a presentation on the proposed Institute for Risk Management and Insurance Innovation from Dr. Gregory Geraklis, William R. Keenan, Jr., Distinguished Professor, Department of Environmental Science and Engineering, and Director of the Center for Financial Risk and Environmental Systems. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Trustee Codis. And I'll now recognize Trustee White to give the report of the External Relations Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor and Board of Trustees member, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on External Relations yesterday, May 15th. The committee received a legislative update from Amy McConkey, Director of State Affairs, and Kelly Dockham, Director of Federal Affairs. Finally, the committee received a development update from Vice Chancellor for Development, Michael Andreessen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Okay, thank you, Trustee White. And Student Body President Taylor has informed me, thank you for this, that Javier Daniels, who I called on earlier, is now here to speak on behalf of the graduate and professional student government. Oh, come on up. Come on. There you are. Okay, thank you.
Apologize for my delay. I got stuck in traffic coming from Wilson, North Carolina. Yeah.
We can all relate to that, so.
I know many of you are probably saying, I know Kate looked a whole lot better last time we seen her. But my name is Xavier Daniels, and I'm the vice president. Unfortunately, Kate had an unforeseen emergency and called me and asked if I would come and speak with you all today. And I'm honored to do that. Let me just make a few comments. She gave me a whole lot to say, but I'm going to be disobedient and cut across the field here. One thing that she would want me to emphasize is that our administrative goal for the year is to ensure that we empower graduate and professional students and ensuring that students have a voice in institutional affairs. She also would ask that I would be committed to addressing the community needs and that we would be sensitive to all of the graduate and professional students. Now, the Chancellor has already spoken on DEI issues, and I think this is something that all of us are very concerned about. I myself am fortunate to be a part of the Keenan Flagner Business School, and so I have not yet made a personal decision on how I feel about it, because I make all of my decisions off of data and facts. As the Chancellor says, I don't really have facts right now. So as I await those facts, I would like to say that I am glad to hear that the university is going to take every approach necessary to ensure that our community stays fair and inclusive for everyone. Finally, she wants to emphasize students' wellness, and we have a plan to advocate for graduate and professional students through introducing a student Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights will include things like reasonable work hours for our PhD candidates and protecting time off. We would like to improve student engagement for graduate and professional students across the community by introducing programs like UNC Connect to foster community. And finally, we would like to have transparency across graduate and professional student council. Now, unfortunately, I have to go to work because I have a board meeting at my actual job. But I will leave you with this one gift because I'm from the South and you always give people gifts when you first meet them. I hope that my comments was brief and that you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Hey. Thank you very much for those comments, Xavier. That was very nice, and we always appreciate brevity at this board, so thank you, especially the chairman. I concur with that. I'll now recognize a motion to go into closed session. Trustee White.
Mr. Chairman, I move the board convene in closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 143-318-11A1 to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential information, and also pursuant to Section 143-318-11A2, A3, A5, A6, A7, and A9. Do I have a
You've
second?
heard the motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Trustee Codis. All in favor? Any discussion or debate? All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We're going into closed session. Okay, thank you, Mark, for getting us back in open session. I'll now recognize Trustee Jones for an open session report of the University Affairs Committee. Trustee Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Pryor and Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on University Affairs yesterday, May 15th. In open session yesterday, the committee considered and approved revised faculty salary ranges for the UNC School of Library and Information Science. This item was approved by the board as part of its consent agenda this morning. Finally, we heard an update on the Student Career and Life Skills Working Group from Mindy Story, Associate Provost for Student Leadership, and James Baraselli, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Career Development. In closed session, we discussed requested personnel items, including 13 promotions conferring tenure and 6 new appointments conferring tenure. The conferrals of tenure, promotions, and appointments require our vote now. On behalf of the committee, I move that the Board of Trustees vote to approve the requested final personnel action items, including 13 promotions conferring tenure and 6 new appointments conferring tenure.
Is there a second? Trustee White, thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? One abstention. Motion carries. The remaining non-final action was approved by this board in closed session. Before I close, I would like to specifically recognize in our facilities management, Bob Mazurek, Jimmy Mazurek, Chris Norris, and Josh McClawhorn, who is a university police officer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Jones, for that. And before we adjourn, Trustee Meekins has asked for just a moment to make a personal point. So go right ahead, Trustee Meekins.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity, and I apologize to my fellow board members for not addressing this on Monday. Had I been better prepared and had not been unaware of the meeting because I was out and not checking my emails, that was my fault. But so I wish I had been able to express this on Monday. Before I even read, and I'm going to read for the first time. I've never prepared a written document where I read from in this meetings. I've been here for 5 years, but I'm going to do it today. I do want to recognize the fact that we lost Ralph Frazier last week. He was one of the last living members of the first 3 African-American undergrads who came here. He died last week. 3 brothers from Durham were the first 3 admitted African-Americans admitted to our school back in 1955. But they had to file a lawsuit against the Board of Trustees to be able to do that. So just to give some context, but On Monday, May 13, 2024, UNC's, our board convened to discuss the approval or disapproval of the all funds budget. Spearheaded by our CFO, Nate Knuffman, the proposed budget was meticulously crafted by the administration. Board members, alongside numerous collaborators, invested extensive hours and energy with the administration to refine the budget's intricacies. Subsequently, the finalized proposal was presented to the Board of Trustees for their deliberation and vote. Instead of having an up or down vote, a motion was presented to remove $2.3 million established for DEI programs and to reallocate those savings to resources for public safety. This motion was the first I had ever heard of such a change to the budget. Regrettably, I missed the majority of the budget meeting. At the time of the vote, I felt uneasy about making a decision without having been present for much of the initial discussion. As a result, I chose not to cast my vote either in favor of or against the motion to defund DEI. I have since thoroughly reviewed the recording of the proceedings, and after considering the matter thoroughly, I am totally against the changes to the budget proposed on May 13th, and I have several reasons for my beliefs on this point. First, as I articulated in our last meeting on March 27th, I believe our board should refrain from changing our DEI programs until the Board of Governors adopts the new policy and promulgates the guidelines for implementation, which it has not yet done. Second, if the Board of Governors Committee's recommendations on DEI are adopted by the full Board of Governors next week or some other time, the directive will be, if it's the committee's recommendation, will be to direct any savings from cuts to DEI to student success and well-being initiatives. Therefore, I'm concerned that the Board of Trustees' decision to reallocate savings to the public safety will be in direct conflict with the potential directive from the Board of Governors. As much as I agree with our board that we need to adequately fund our public safety team, we must be consistent with the policy of the Board of Governors. The proposed Board of Governor policy does not require the complete elimination of DEI programs, but calls for changes to be made and those changes to be determined by the chancellor of each school. Third, as a result of the actions of the board on May 13th, DEI funding was withdrawn without hearing from proponents of DEI who are most aware of all that DEI encompasses and all of the benefits that are offered to our student body and faculty when implemented effectively. UNC's DEI programs oversee a wide range of activities on our campus, and I believe they are necessary on our campus. Fourth, and finally, while many would agree that some DEI efforts have become problematic and excessive, I've seen them myself, the fundamental principles of DEI and the ongoing need for development and support for the core of DEI principles are still key to the success of our campus. The Board of Trustees' directive to do away with DEI entirely goes too far and beyond what the Board of Governors is likely going to require. And then this recent action, coupled with other policy changes and resolutions made by this board, I believe sends the wrong message to our students, prospective students, and alumni regarding how UNC values and treats diverse populations on our campus. Fortunately, as we heard from our chancellor this morning, in spite of this action that we have taken, the issue of how UNC-Chapel Hill handles its efforts on diversity will ultimately be determined by our interim chancellor. I trust that he will await clarification from the Board of Governors regarding its DEI policy, as he said he would this morning, and also hope that he will adhere to its directives while thoroughly examining the matter, listening to all perspectives, and ultimately making an informed decision. It's undoubtedly a challenging task, but I pray he approaches the changes to our DEI program with precision, using a scalpel and not a machete. Given his track record so far, I am optimistic that this will indeed be the approach that he takes. Thanks for letting me do that.
Thank you, Trustee Meekins, for those heartfelt remarks. That concludes our business today. Without objection, we are adjourned.
7 minutes?